Crypto markets have started to heat up like crazy in the last month, putting the price of Bitcoin up over 100% in the last year alone. And if you look back on 2023, it looks like it's actually been a bull market all year long, putting many people in disbelief. And now all eyes are on 2024, which, if history repeats itself, should be the time when crypto starts to set up to break new all-time highs and go way beyond. And so the question is, how high can Bitcoin actually go? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down a detailed analysis on how Bitcoin can actually reach $1 million per coin. I'm going to explain exactly how this could work as a blockchain developer myself who works with this technology on a daily basis, has been involved in the space ever since 2017 through multiple crypto cycles. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to get ahead of the next crypto wave and become a blockchain master before this space gets absolutely crazy, then I can show you how to do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about how Bitcoin can actually reach $1 million per coin. Now, a quick disclaimer in this video, nothing I'm saying in this video is designed to be financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. This is for educational purposes only. And while I'm not a financial advisor, I have been talking about many contrarian takes on the crypto markets during the last year when everybody thought, this was doom and gloom bear market time only. In October, I said this on Twitter, picture this, Bitcoin hits 40 to 45K in Q4. And you look back on 2023 and realize it's been, a bull market all along. Now, at the time I record this video, we still haven't quite hit that mark yet. But if you zoom out and look at 2023, it looks a lot like a bull trend, which is far from the consensus view that everyone had throughout the year. And so lots of people are waking up to this and they're starting to think, okay, then where could this space actually head if everything we thought before was previously wrong? And so I want to break down this analysis from Cathie Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, that was previously made early this year, but has been making the rounds online in the past few weeks as this bullish sentiment has started to flourish. And this is the analysis that shows how Bitcoin can actually reach $1 million per coin. Now, the reason I want to break that down in this video is there's a significant amount of fundamental analysis that takes place with this number, okay? It's not like they threw a dart at a board and said, I think Bitcoin's going to reach, this price. There's a lot of math that goes behind this because you have to ask yourself, like, okay, if somebody gives you a number, why would the price of Bitcoin actually achieve that? Well, it goes down to basic supply and demand economics. If Bitcoin is basically a scarce asset that's more or less fixed supply with a very low inflation rate that decreases every 4 years with the halving, then it really is more about the demand side of the equation. And why are more people going to buy Bitcoin? Well, that's exactly what this analysis shows in detail. Well, the analysis is predicated on the idea that basically Bitcoin is in its very early stages of adoption. There's very few different profiles of people or entities that hold Bitcoin, and that these categories will grow, and that the amount of capital allocated by each of these categories is also going to grow. So I'm going to tell you all the categories and break them down and talk about how much money can go into those that will make up this number. So the first category that I want to talk about are ETFs, or exchange traded funds, and pairing that with institutional adoption of cryptocurrency. So in case you've been living under a rock in the last 90 days, or maybe you've checked out of the crypto space and are just getting back in, all eyes are on a Bitcoin spot ETF approval as being a major catalyst for the next bull run. So if you're not familiar with what that is, ETF just stands for exchange traded fund. This basically allows people to get exposure to the cryptocurrency by not holding the cryptocurrency itself, by buying shares in an index, just like you would in a stock index that represents the underlying value of the Bitcoin. So there's lots of people that have their name in the hat for a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. The leader in this space is definitely BlackRock. Okay, it's the largest institutional asset manager on the face of the planet with $10 trillion worth of assets under management. So imagine if just 1% of that money flowed into Bitcoin, that could seriously move the needle on the price. And that's one thing that lots of people are looking for the next leg of crypto adoption. And so that's the use case that everybody's talking about right now. I've covered it pretty extensively in my channel in the past few months alone. Okay, but really ETFs are just the beginning of this entire process. There's lots of other categories of entities that could, purchase Bitcoin in a way that you or I can't. Okay. So, lots of other entities can purchase billions of dollars of Bitcoin, just like, these institutions. And that can really move the needle on price. So what are some of the other categories that can formulate this move towards Bitcoin becoming worth over $1 million per coin? So another category is corporate treasuries. So what is that? Well, basically this looks like really large companies or corporations taking some of the cash that they have on hand and then purchasing something like Bitcoin that can actually go up in value as opposed to the cash that's just sitting there, not really changing value relative to itself. Okay, so we've already seen this trend start to happen. Back in 2021, Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin for its balance sheet. They were a first mover in this way, and there could be lots of other companies on the sidelines that could do the exact same thing. Imagine if a company like Apple did the same thing, okay? Apple, as of June 2023, had $62.48 billion worth of cash on its balance sheet. What if 1 to 5% of that went into something like Bitcoin? Okay, 5% would be, over $3 billion. Another example is sovereign treasuries, or said another way, just companies buying Bitcoin, okay? We saw first movers in this space as well. We saw El Salvador be one of the first countries to buy Bitcoin and hold it in their treasury, okay? And they also turned it into legal tender, which has a ton of crazy implications for the currency within its own nation state. And so I don't think that El Salvador is going to be the last country to do this. And what if many, many more countries on the face of the planet adopt this same strategy, even in a small percentage of their wealth? That can have an insane price impact on Bitcoin alone. All right, so that's an overview of some of the top categories for who could be purchasing Bitcoin, okay? Now, there's more categories, as you can see on this list, but we also have some percentages of those allocations that could go into this, and that helps us arrive at that number of $1 million per Bitcoin. So I haven't explained every single one of these in depth, but let's go through them step by step and talk about the allocations, because what we're talking about is the total amount of money in each of these categories and what percentage of the total amount of money in these categories could go into Bitcoin. So we'll start off with corporate treasuries, okay? So basically, if you're talking about all of the money sitting in every single corporate treasury across the face of the planet, they have a bear case, a base case, and a bull case, okay? So there's 3 different ranges that lead to 3 different prices. So if 0% of corporate treasury is going to Bitcoin, that's the bear case. So 2.5 is the base case, 2.5% is the bull. So remittance assets, so basically this is saying like if you're trying to send money across borders for remittance payments, 5%, 10%, 25%. Nation states should be covered 0%, 1% to 5%, and the list goes on and on. And I'm not going to repeat all of the different categories here and the percentages, but you get the idea. There's multiple categories, a bear case, a base case, and a bull case. Now, if you add up all these categories together and you spread it across the ranges, the most optimistic scenario is that Bitcoin will reach $1.48 million per coin by 2030, okay? Now, if you back that off and do something more conservative like the base case, it still puts Bitcoin at a whopping $682,000 per coin, all right? And even the most conservative, like bearish bear case out there puts Bitcoin at $258,000 per coin. And that's absolutely insane. Those are insane multiples from what the current price of Bitcoin is at the time of recording this video. Now, that being said, that is 2030, okay? That's 6 years away. So what could the price of Bitcoin actually do sooner than that? Let's say in the next year or two, by 2024 or 2025. Now, that's definitely going to require some speculation on my part. So I'll do that right now. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you that Bitcoin's actually going to hit these price targets for the next 2 years, but let's do some speculation here. Okay, let's break it down and show our work. I'm going to give you some assumptions. Let's assume that Bitcoin roughly follows the same 4-year cycles that it's done in the past. Okay, maybe it won't do that perfectly, but let's just assume that. And let's say there's 2 cycles left until 2030. And let's go with the most bearish case scenario, saying that Bitcoin's only going to be worth $258,000 by 2030. And now let's also assume that Bitcoin has diminishing returns over time. So every cycle, it's not going to quite go up as much. And let's assume that, in the next cycle, that before that following cycle where it actually reaches these targets, it only achieves half of this amount or maybe 2/3 of this amount. So in the next cycle, if Bitcoin only hits half these targets, the bear case is $120,000 per coin. And if it goes up 2/3 that amount, it's $170,000 per coin. So 120 to 170,000. Half to 2/3 of the base case would be 341,000 to 456,000, and half to 2/3 of the bull case would be 740 to $991,000 per coin. And so even if it hits on the low end of these targets the next 2 years, that's going to be a pretty impressive return for Bitcoin in the next cycle, assuming that we actually are gearing up for that right now. And if we do that and we can continue on, then it could actually reach these targets that we're talking about by 2030. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Can Bitcoin actually hit $1 million by 2030? Is that way too optimistic? Do we need to back our expectations back down to maybe $250,000 per coin by 2030? What's it going to do in the next 2 years? I want to hear from you. So after you leave your comment, make sure you smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you turn on notifications so that you don't miss a video. And if you want to get ahead of the next crypto wave that's coming and become a blockchain master before this space gets crazy again, then I can show you how to do that step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.